Two coworkers. Same income for the last 3 years. Same rent, same car payment, same everything on paper. One of them still checks her balance with a small flinch, every single time. A half second of bracing right before the number loads. The other one doesn't flinch anymore. Hasn't in months. She opens the app the same way she checks the weather. Just information. Nothing to brace for. The difference isn't how much they earn. It's not their job title, their age, or how many hours they work. It's a single number one of them crossed, and the other hasn't. $10,000. And what happens in your brain at that number is stranger, and more specific, than almost anyone expects. Most financial advice treats every dollar the same. $1,000 saved should feel exactly 10 times better than 100. 10,000 should feel 10 times better than 1,000. The math is clean. The graph goes up in a straight line. More money, proportionally more relief. But that's not how people actually experience money. And if you've ever saved diligently for months and still felt exactly as anxious as when you started, you already know this instinctively. Only 46% of adults have enough saved to cover 3 months of expenses. Nearly a quarter have no emergency savings at all. And here's the part that matters more than the percentages themselves. People don't describe their financial anxiety fading slowly, evenly, dollar by dollar. They describe it dropping suddenly, almost all at once. Somewhere around a specific point, not proportionally with every dollar added. Ask someone with $800 saved how safe they feel, and they'll usually still describe some version of dread. Ask someone with $11,000 saved the same question, and the answer changes in tone, not just in number. Not because 11,000 is some magic multiple of 800, because somewhere between those 2 points, something switches. Here's what's actually happening underneath that switch. Below a certain amount, your brain treats savings as a countdown. It's still running a background calculation, constantly, usually without you noticing it consciously. How many bad months could I survive right now? How many missed shifts? How many unexpected bills before this becomes actually dangerous, not just uncomfortable? That countdown runs quietly under almost every financial decision you make, even small ones, even ones that look unrelated to money at all. Above a certain amount, the calculation quietly stops. Not because you decided to stop worrying, because there's finally nothing left to count down from. The number stops feeling like a fuse burning down, and starts feeling like ground you're standing on. Solid, load-bearing. Something you can build a decision on top of, instead of something you're just trying not to run out of. For most people living on a typical income, that shift tends to land somewhere close to $10,000. Not because 10,000 is some universal law of psychology. Because for a lot of household budgets, that's roughly the point where 3 to 6 months of bare essentials get covered. Rent, utilities, groceries, insurance. The floor, not the extras. Below that floor, every single dollar still feels urgent. It has a job before you even earn it. Above that floor, dollars start feeling less like survival and more like choices. That's the actual shift. Not richer, not more comfortable in some abstract sense. Just for the first time, choosing instead of surviving. Now here's an important distinction, because it's easy to misunderstand this as some kind of magic threshold you either hit or don't. You can't force this shift by staring at the number harder, checking your balance 5 times a day, or willing yourself to feel calmer before the math actually supports it. That doesn't work. And if you've tried it, you already know it doesn't work. The shift happens through the same boring mechanics that got anyone to that number in the first place. Consistent deposits on a schedule, without requiring motivation each time. Unplanned money, a refund, a returned item, extra hours, redirected immediately instead of dissolving into the month. And never letting one good month talk you into abandoning the plan the moment a bad one shows up. What you actually can do, starting today, is stop mistaking the early anxiety for a personality trait. This is the part almost nobody says out loud. If you feel that flinch every time you check your balance, that doesn't mean you're bad with money, careless, or somehow worse at this than people who seem calm about their finances. It means you haven't crossed the line yet. That's it. That's the whole explanation. Not a character flaw. A position on a map. So let's talk about how you actually track your way toward that line, because the dollar figure alone is a strangely unhelpful way to measure this. Rule 1. Measure months, not dollars. Instead of fixating on a dollar figure sitting in an account, track how many months of bare essentials your savings would actually cover If your income stopped tomorrow, 1 month feels different from 3, 3 feels different from 6. And here's the encouraging part. The dollar amount that gets you from 1 month of coverage to 3 months is often smaller than people assume, because most of that gap gets closed by consistency quietly compounding in the background, not by some dramatic income jump you're waiting on. Rule 2. Name the flinch. Pay close attention to that specific moment when you open your banking app. If there's a small flinch, that half second of bracing before the number actually loads on screen, that's not something to feel embarrassed about. That's real, measurable financial anxiety, showing up as a physical response in your body before your conscious mind even catches up. Treat it as data, not as a personal failing. And here's the useful part. Watch it over months, not as some kind of motivational exercise, but as an honest signal of exactly where you actually stand, separate from how your bank balance looks on paper. Rule 3. Don't skip the floor chasing the ceiling. It's genuinely tempting, once you've saved a little, to start looking past the $10,000 line toward bigger, more exciting goals. Investing, a house down payment, retirement accounts. All of that matters, eventually, and none of it should be ignored forever. But none of it removes the flinch the same way crossing this specific floor does. A stock portfolio doesn't stop you from bracing when you check your checking account balance on a Tuesday morning. Build the floor first. The ceiling, whatever it ends up being for you, can wait a few extra months. Picture those same 2 coworkers again, the ones from the beginning. Both of them started saving around the same general time, roughly a year and a half ago. Both stayed reasonably consistent, missing the occasional month here and there the way real life tends to force. But one of them crossed roughly $10,000 about a year before the other, purely because she started a few months earlier and, critically, never let a single bad month become an excuse to stop entirely. That head start compounded into something bigger than the money itself. She stopped flinching first, not because she's naturally calmer, not because her job is more secure, not because she earns more than her coworker does, because on paper, she doesn't. She crossed the line first. That's the entire difference between the two of them, sitting right there in a small physical reaction that happens before either of them consciously thinks about money at all. Now, the honest part. Because this isn't a magic fix for everyone, and pretending otherwise would be dishonest. This isn't a guarantee that hitting $10,000 fixes financial stress for everyone, in every situation. Some people have real ongoing gaps between income and expenses that no savings milestone can solve, no matter how disciplined the saving habit is. If that's your situation, the honest next step is addressing income or debt directly, not chasing a number that assumes your budget is already balanced. This specific idea is for a specific kind of anxiety, the kind that comes from not knowing whether you could survive a genuinely bad month. That's the exact anxiety this particular line addresses. It's not a universal cure, and treating it like one would do more harm than good. The 2 coworkers from the start of this video didn't have different lives, different jobs, or different luck. They had different lines they'd crossed, at different points in time, through the same quiet, repeatable process. So here's the question worth sitting with. Have you noticed your own flinch getting smaller lately, even slightly, or is it still there every single time you check your balance? Be honest with yourself about it, and tell me in the comments, because I genuinely want to know where people actually are on this. And if you're wondering exactly how long it actually takes to cross that line, starting from 0, with a real specific timeline instead of a vague estimate, that math is coming to this channel next.